Come on, John. Look, my character kills this guy. He's probably an innocent bystander. I just want to know what that's like.
James Woods is a tough street cop, and Michael J. Fox is a Hollywood actor whose ambition is to be just like him. In The Hard Way, one of the new movies we're going to be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. And our first film is The Hard Way, a sometimes amusing twist on all those cop buddy pictures we've been getting over the years. Michael J. Fox stars as a popular Hollywood actor who decides to tag along with James Woods, playing a seasoned New York City cop, and he's going to try and research a movie role with him. Here's where we first meet Michael J. Fox as he complains to his agent, Penny Marshall, that he wants to take on tougher parts.
You know what the problem is? I'm tired of playing cartoons. You don't want me to grow up. The studio doesn't want me to grow up. I'm the only one who wants me to grow up!
That's a funny bit. So Fox goes out to New York to find out all he can about James Woods, who is oblivious to Fox's attempts to strike up a relationship.
I'll tell you another thing, Lieutenant. You don't have to worry about me screwing up. I really did my homework on this one. I know police procedures. I know all the police lingo. Hey, homeboy.
When Woods finally does talk, he offers a complete put-down of the Hollywood approach to learning about someone's life.
We live this job. It's something we are, not something we do. Every time a cop walks up to a car and has to give a speeding ticket, he knows he may have to kill someone or be killed himself. That's not something you step into by strapping on a rubber gun and riding around all day. You get to go back to your $1 million beach house and your bimbos and your blowhards, and you get 17 takes to get it right. We get one take. It lasts our whole lives. We mess it up, and we're dead.
That was great. I'm serious. Can you just do that one more time for me?
Eventually, the cop and the actor are joined in a battle to capture the most common villain in the movies today, a serial killer. Here watching James Woods talk about him on TV.
Whoever he is gutless, he is pathetic, and when his luck runs out, I am going to be on him like a bum on a bologna sandwich.
You got that, you chicken slop, wherever you are?
That's Stephen Lang as the killer, and the character of the killer doesn't work at all in this picture. Sometimes he's played seriously, sometimes comically. What also doesn't work is a love story with Woods' girlfriend falling a bit for Michael J. Fox. Her character isn't developed. On the plus side, however, is some banter between the two men. Michael J. Fox has the better role, and a rousing finale atop a huge sign in Times Square. So a mixed review for me, thumbs down, but with some redeeming features.
I give it thumbs up with some features I didn't like so much. The one thing I liked really was James Woods' performance. I don't know why you think Michael J. Fox had the better role here.
I'll tell you why.
Woods brings such a high energy voltage to this movie. He has a couple of scenes early in the film where he's talking about his problems as he's trying to get to that date that he's late for, or another time when he's driving around and quitting smoking and talking at the same time. His energy is just exhilarating to watch.
Okay, that's the standard James Woods that we've seen before.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, that wasn't difficult for him to do. What I would have wanted to see in his character, I think would have made the movie really kick into high gear, is have his character be twisted a little bit and seduced by Michael J. Fox. Because James Woods is played straight down the line. It's his boss that is immediately seduced and wants to be in Hollywood and a celebrity, get Michael J. Fox's autograph. If Woods had twisted, then we would have seen this guy who we know is tough, through all of his movie roles, be seduced, and that would have made the picture much better.
Maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't have. It might have been a good idea. I don't know. Michael J. Fox does, however, do some funny stuff in this movie.
He's a good comic actor.
He plays with his own image,
yes,
and he has fun doing it.
Yes.
And I enjoyed the movie.
Okay, well, we split a little bit.
Next movie. Our next movie is named Closet Land, and this takes the form of a long and painful dialogue between two characters named Man and Woman who are locked in a battle of wills. Man is a government interrogator and torturer. Woman is an author who has written a children's book that the man feels is subversive to the government. The movie is an allegory for political and sexual persecution.
Deliberate deceit will not be tolerated, although personally I may find your lies charming. Inadvertent blunders will be treated with firm kindness, and you must trust me to decide the ratio of firmness to kindness. Your best hope would be to depersonalize what follows and not to look upon me as a foe or yourself as a victim.
That's Madeline Stowe as Woman and Alan Rickman. He was the villain in Die Hard as Man. Woman soon discovers that the state knows more about her than she thought.
Were you afraid of your mother?
No. We had a good relationship.
Well, yes, you were with her at her bedside when she died last year.
What?
where you accused her of not noticing.
I've done what you asked, Mama. I've done all I could. I've been there for you, but you've never been there for me. You never noticed. Just never noticed.
And then you stormed out of the hospital. That night, your mother died. Never noticed what?
You've been spying on me, haven't you? Since last year, maybe even before. Why?
And there's more, including the detail that the woman was criminally assaulted as a girl by the very same man, of course. It had to be him. He's the only other person in the movie. The very same man who was interrogating her. Closet Land is sexism masquerading as the opposite, in which man represents all evil and woman all good. Man is censorship, woman is art, man is the state, woman is the life force. I got the point in the first 5 minutes, but the movie drones on, a dirge of outrage, in which the only bright spot is that the woman can absorb more sadistic torture than the man is willing or able to provide for her. I'm against all of the same things this movie is against. How about you, Gene? You opposed to torture? I would have guessed it. And yet the movie is so dire, so much an example of rigidly politically correct thinking, that what it mostly appealed to was my sense of irony.
Well, I had the same reaction, which is, I mean, if a picture is going to take the obvious line on things, then I think it's almost obliged to put some spin on the material. But this is straight down the line, so obvious. It's preaching to the converted, but who else is it preaching to? I mean, is somebody who disagrees with the picture going to even be in the movie?
This is an exercise in self-congratulation for people who can go to this movie and congratulate each other that, you know, they're in favor of
people not being tortured,
freedom of speech and children's books, and they're against childhood abuse and torture. The only thing that kind of bothered me is that, of course, the man is the center of all evil, and the woman is the victim.
That's a good point. There's only one interesting shot in the picture where some of the pictorial parts of her children's books are represented.
Yeah,
in the
that's
film.
interesting.
That was an interesting shot by the director. Otherwise, nothing special here. Coming up next, a drug caper film with a message. New Jack City, directed by Mario Van Peebles.
You're talking about a war out there that we're losing. You're not gonna... I've been authorized to set up an independent drug fighting unit, and I'm picking you. Got it?
A ghetto drug caper movie with an anti-drug message. That's our next film, called New Jack City, but even though the message is clear, a lot of the action still glamorizes street life, I think. Mario Van Peebles, who directed the film, stars as a detective who finally gets permission to assign a couple of rogue cops to capture the big dealer in their precinct.
I need some New Jack cops to take down a New Jackster. What you call a risk? I think it's our only shot.
And here are those cops, played by Judd Nelson and rap artist Ice-T.
You don't have to like me. I don't even know if I like you. But we're in this together now, partner.
Later, Ice-T meets with a recovering crack addict who wants to infiltrate the drug dealer's operation.
Come on, I gotta get off the streets. You know what's gonna happen if I stay on the streets, man? I need something to be a part of, man. Come on. If you don't believe me, who's gonna believe me?
And here are the bad guys, played by Wesley Snipes and Alan Payne.
I mean, this is about survival. We ain't going out like Pusshead and Blackie lying shot up in the hallway over a $10 bag. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be smarter than that. We gotta look out for one another.
I have a mixed review for this film, too, like The Hard Way. This film has its heart in the right place, but I still think the picture romanticizes the drug lifestyle. I mean, compare its portrayal of the drug-addicted life with a film like Drugstore Cowboy, and I think New Jack City comes up as superficial.
I admired it a lot more than that, Gene, and I don't think it glamorizes the lifestyle. I mean, Wesley Snipes gets enough money to move into a mansion where he looks at movies, but what does he look at? Scarface, and what happens? They superimpose Scarface's dead body, Al Pacino, over his figure as he stands in front of the screen. A little bit later on, his girlfriend offers to testify against him to the police. He is seen in every sense as paranoid, evil, and hated by those around him, while at the same time, the cops this time are much more three-dimensional. I like the fact, for example, that Ice-T, that one cop, takes that kid that we saw in the clip, drags him out of an alley when he's totally wasted on crack, gets him into rehab, gives him pep talks, gets him going to his meetings, helps him to sober up, and is responsible for that, is doing that on a personal basis instead of just walking around with a big gun shooting people.
I think that this picture has a little bit of the last film that we criticized as too, where it takes the obviously honorable side in terms of standing against drug addiction and toward people in the community helping their fellow man and neighbor. But when the film sets up its original, I say the first half hour of the picture, I thought it was pretty standard in the way it portrays what the addicted life is like, and we all know that it's a lot rougher and not as Hollywood costumed.
Well,
as this picture is.
this wasn't a Hollywood costume picture.
I
One
thought
of the
more
things
so.
I liked about it was the way that the people in the movie talked in neighborhood language. There was no attempt made to turn it into dialogue that would be easily digestible to the audience. This movie has a kind of authenticity, a sense of place to it that I enjoy.
Yeah, well, we differ on that. Coming up, Shipwrecked, the story of brave kids who defy the odds on a pirate island.
Have you ever used a gun before? I think I can handle myself.
A young cabin boy struggles to free a stowaway while the water rises in a sinking ship, and that's one of the setup scenes for Shipwrecked, a colorful treasure island type of story that has a certain charm, but is fairly innocuous. The movie stars young Stian Smedstad as a Norwegian boy who goes to sea to save the family farm and is shipwrecked on an island that turns out to conceal a pirate's treasure trove. For a kid with a healthy imagination, his adventure is a dream come true. The pirates come looking for their treasure, and they turn out to be imposters who are on the boy's own ship. He and his friends rig up lots of gimmicks to foil them. There were times here when I thought I was looking at a version of Home Alone for shipwrecked kids. The young sailor sets traps to outsmart the pirates and even a local gorilla until a final showdown with the bad guy.
Now, you listen here to me, boy. I'm going to count to 3. And then you're going to tell me where my treasure is. Because if you don't, I'm going to blow your head off. 1. 2.
That's Gabriel Byrne there as the pirate. Shipwrecked is the kind of movie I might have loved when I was 11, but I am not 11 anymore, and the whole thing seemed kind of bland and corny to me. I guess I like the photography okay, the simplicity of the adventure, and some of the life on board ship, but this is not among your all-time great adventure films.
And the problem is, I was thinking of one that was made not that long ago, Black Stallion, which is really basically the same story, and is photographed so smartly so that even as an adult you can get into that picture. So when the kid is washed up on the beach, I'm thinking of that same scene in Black Stallion where we hear the little bugs come crawling on it, and it's mic'd so well, the sound is done so well, and we don't have that here. This is an older style of picture, and I think that the audience probably has moved along and would enjoy it more.
You know, one thing that I think I would have advised the producers to leave out would have been the gorilla that the kid meets on the island. Now, we all know there are lots of giant gorillas on small islands in the middle of the Pacific, but this one seemed to be right out of Central Casting. I mean, he steps on one of the kid's traps, and he goes sailing through the air, lands on a vine, shakes himself off, kind of goes like this, walks away. Later on, he looks like a gorilla you'd hire for a New Year's Eve party.
It looks like two guys in a costume. The thing that I thought was funny is that when he popped out of the cave, the gorilla popped out of the cave, there was a big laughter in the theater. I thought like maybe they got a reel mixed up, and it just didn't seem logical that would occur.
Coming up next, Judo, a film from China that has received an Oscar nomination, but the Chinese government doesn't want anyone to see it.
Called Judo, that is caught up in a big controversy. After winning a top prize for its director at the Cannes Film Festival this past year, it received an Oscar nomination as Best Foreign Language Film, but the Chinese government doesn't want the picture released, apparently because of its strong sexual and political theme. The story is a simple one, beautifully told, as a young man in a fabric dye mill develops a crush on his adoptive uncle's beautiful young wife. She is interested in him, too, because her rich, older husband routinely beats her. Eventually, they do have a sexual encounter in a scene that portrays sex as liberating and the old guard, the Chinese establishment, as cruel. The young woman has a baby with this man, and in one of the film's most visually dramatic scenes, the baby boy's crying wakes up his parents. A fire in the mill has been set by the old man to destroy these lives that disgrace him. That's a terrific scene, and director Zhang Yimou has a natural flair for the dramatic image. The mill is a perfect place for this elemental drama to play itself out, a drama whose outcome, by the way, is not easy to predict. And the Chinese government may view this film as a cultural threat, but I think judo should be embraced as a badge of honor. Of all of the foreign language Oscar nominees that I've seen this year, this is the one I'd vote for. I'd pick this over Cyrano de Bergerac, actually.
It's a very good film. I really liked it. I got into it. What I liked about it in particular was the almost Victorian sense of this mill and the man who runs it and the people who work for him and the way he controls their lives. You know, there was an article in the New York Times just the other day that might help suggest why the Chinese government doesn't like that. It said that Chinese people in general are extremely shy about expressing their emotions publicly, that in many cases they don't even like the Chinese words for things like love and kiss because they sound funny in that language. They don't sound natural. And in movies and books, there's very little sexual content. It's kind of a prudish society, by choice, not from the top down, but from the bottom up. And so this movie, made by a director who's been exposed to a lot of Western films and Western values, may be seen as quite rude in some ways because of its subject matter.
Well, that aside, for people that are going to see it in this country, I think they're going to see really a major talent. When I watched this, I thought, you know, this is what I like about the movies. I like these strong visuals, simple stories that I'm amazed how quickly I get caught up in this sort of thing, and how the Hollywood story, with all of its idiosyncrasies that are written in and all these high concepts,
I did too. I really was absorbed. You know, one thing about this movie that we ought to mention, it's shot in color. It takes place at a dye factory.
Right.
And this is doubly interesting because several years ago, Technicolor abandoned their three-strip process where they use 3 different strips of film to make really beautiful color film, and they don't use it anymore. They sold one of their factories to China. This is probably the only true Technicolor film you're going to see this year, and boy, when you see those reds and those vermilions and those colors, the yellows and so forth, they just pop out of the screen. They're almost, you can almost taste them. They're so beautiful.
It is a beautiful film. Coming up next, our video pick of the week, a movie that's in love.
It's on home video as one of the surprise sleeper hits of last year called Cinema Paradiso. Here's an unsung Italian film that seemed to play months and months in a lot of cities as moviegoers told each other how much they liked it. The movie starred Philippe Noiret as a small-town projectionist at the very moment when television was destroying little movie theaters, and little Salvatore Cassio as a little boy who doesn't have much of a home life and makes the projection booth his spiritual home. Cinema Paradiso was a special movie, and I recommend you check it out on home video. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this week's show. A split decision on The Hard Way with James Woods giving Michael J. Fox police lessons. Gene thinks Woods played a one-note character. I liked his energy. 2 thumbs down for Closet Land, a politically correct but empty-headed allegorical dirge. A split decision on New Jack City. I admired its gritty anti-drug message and feel for the streets. Gene thought it was still too Hollywood. 2 thumbs down for Shipwrecked, a good-looking but innocuous children's adventure movie. And finally, 2 thumbs up for Judo, the Chinese film about love, death, and pride. And that'll be playing over the next month around because it's nominated for an Academy Award.
But not in many theaters. I mean, even in Los Angeles, where the Oscars are, it's in the Goldwyn Center Theater. They're going to be moving to the Los Feliz. So even in a big city, it's only going to be in 2. If it comes to your town, get to it right away. It's a classic.
You know, the one I'd like to say another word about is New Jack City, because I really think it was a fresh and honest film, and I think we should give it credit for that.
There's an attempt there. I just don't think they pull it off.
That's it for this week. Next time we'll be back with reviews of Guilty by Suspicion, starring Robert De Niro in a drama about the Hollywood blacklist of the 50s.
I need permission to use your name, David. You want my permission to inform on me?
And also Class Action, a thriller starring Gene Hackman and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio as father and daughter lawyers.